Today's video is focusing on 25 signs that he is sadly losing interest in you. So this might not always be a bad thing. It could be a chance that you can reevaluate your relationship and think, you know what, I'm going to step up my game today and do this thing so that he kind of gains that interest back in me. So stay tuned. He is always finding reasons to pick fights. If you start to notice that he's always got something to complain about, or there's always something that you've seemed to have done wrong, this isn't good. It's no longer romantic. Some people just aren't the romantic type, but if that's him, you don't need to worry about this one. But on the other hand, if he always used to be very romantic and now you notice he's completely changed his behavior, that is something to be concerned about. He's no longer excited to see you. Have you started to notice that he's just no longer interested when he gets to see you? If it feels like he's just as pleased to see you as he is for the rest of his friends, then that's not a good sign. He also isn't enthusiastic about hearing from you. When you talk on the phone, you can just tell that he isn't really that bothered. Hearing how your day has gone and how you're feeling just isn't a priority of his anymore. You are sadly no longer a priority in his life. You might start to pick up on things like work and his friends coming way before you in his priority list. And if you are noticing the fact that you are no longer a priority of his, then it's a sign this relationship may not be the one for you. You can feel it deep down. Now, you can normally trust that feeling in your stomach, that feeling that tells you something isn't quite right anymore. And it may be the right time to at least talk to your partner and find out exactly where you stand. There is a lack of any intimacy. If all the intimacy in the relationship has faded away, it could be another sign that things aren't looking so good for the relationship. Now, there are other reasons this could occur, of course. For example, stress in people's lives or some medications can have a massive effect on this. The relationship feels very one-sided. Do you feel like you are the only one that's putting effort into the relationship anymore? And if you were to stop bothering, would the whole relationship just fizzle out? If so, it might not be a relationship worth keeping anymore. He no longer engages with things you have to say. For example, when you are talking, you will be able to spot quite easily if he's interested in what you have to say. If he's no longer interested in you, he may just stop paying attention to the things you say, and he will put in no effort into continuing the conversation with you. There's no sign of moving forwards. Another sign of fading interest could be a reluctancy to move forwards in the relationship. He's not responsive. If he was the type of person who normally responded quickly but now just seems to take forever to reply, it could be another sign that he is, in fact, losing interest. He only does the bare minimum. He's only interested in doing the absolute bare minimum it takes to keep the relationship, in a sense, ticking over. He gets annoyed very easily. You may notice he's lost any form of patience with you. He may be getting annoyed over little and irrational things more often now that he's no longer interested in the relationship. He spends less time with you. This might be one of the first things you start to notice. He spends less and less time around you. He's no longer putting in that effort he used to try and see you. He's no longer supportive of you. Now, you will find you don't have his support in your professional life or your goals and dreams, and he's no longer someone you think you can go to when you need help. He isn't affectionate anymore. Any changes in affection could be a sign that something isn't right. He doesn't notice changes. It's the little things like changing your hairstyle or buying a new top that in the past he would have picked up on, but now he just doesn't seem to notice it. This is a big one, watch out for this. He's defensive. If he knows in his heart he's no longer interested in the relationship, he might feel guilty and get defensive when you start trying to find out what's really going on. He's full of excuses. When it comes to going out or just hanging out, he starts to come up with these miraculous excuses of why he's busy or why he can't see you. Now, this could happen from time to time for very reasonable reasons, but if it's consistently happening more and more, could be a sign of lost interest. His responses to you are very short. Going about the day, he would normally send you long messages, but you may find out that now you are lucky if you can just get a full sentence out of him in his replies. He no longer asks you questions and only seems to talk about himself. When it comes to discussions, he isn't interested in you. He just wants to talk about himself these days, and it's boring. He has stopped caring about how he looks. Now, this is one of those that really has to be taken into full context with everything else going on. It may well be that he's more comfortable and relaxed around you, or he's not interested. There's no longer any laughter in the relationship. He has stopped taking you into consideration. When it comes to decision making, he only thinks about himself and does what he wants to do with no care for you anymore. He no longer shows any initiative in the relationship. When it comes to you and the relationship, he just doesn't seem to care enough anymore. There's no surprise dates or cute little messages. The whole relationship kind of feels like it's gone a little bit stale.